All right, everybody, we are back. Second part of our UFC 278 post-fight coverage. We have a brand new welterweight champion of the world. His name is Leon Edwards. And what an end to a very interesting, sometimes bizarre card. And it ended in just the most insane, wacky way possible. New champ, big upset, fun fights, a lot to discuss here on our live UFC 278 post-fight show. Thank you for joining us. I am Mike Heck. Jed Meshew is here. We will hear his fiery hot takes in a matter of moments. But first, let's head to Salt Lake City, Utah, and join Mr. José Youngs, who is joining us right now. Jose, how are you, my man? Leon Edwards is the new welterweight champion. He was down 3 rounds to run in the scorecards, on his way to losing the 5th round, and then boom, head kick with less than a minute left. We got a new champion. Your reaction to what we saw in the main event tonight?
I mean, it was obviously one of the more shocking finishes I've seen. I wouldn't put it as the most shocking or best comeback, as a lot of people say, especially in a title fight. I'd still kind of give that to Anderson submitting Chael Sonnen, but it's clearly like if you on the short list for most shocking knockouts, craziest comebacks, biggest upsets, whatever you want to call it. Like it's clearly this moment will live in time in MMA. But yeah, all right, we'll see you later.
I mean, leave Jose alone here. That's okay. Unbelievable.
It's clearly on the short list for like a lot of end of the year awards, like historic moments in MMA. This is going to be one of those things where were you watching when Leon Edwards head kicked Kamaru Usman? It's obviously first time Kamaru Usman's lost in the UFC. First time he's been knocked out. Like England's got its first UFC welterweight champion. So. A lot of firsts in the UFC, so it's a historic moment here, and not for nothing. Everyone complained about why are they coming to Utah. This crowd was better than a Vegas card. This crowd was better than Jacksonville. This crowd was better than Houston. This crowd was better than Dallas. This crowd was better than almost everything outside of that first London card I went to. This arena was unhinged for almost the entire night. So. Very, very fun night and all around for fights. If you were here, obviously.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that makes you appreciate the emotional roller coaster that is the sport, because you have a man in Kamaru who's winning the fight the way we expected him to win it, and then boom, it all happens. And now some big things going on, Jose. Now, I mean, I know Dana kind of walked it back at the press conference, but they want to do the rematch in London, the trilogy fight. Wembley was mentioned. Leon Edwards is obviously very excited about that idea. Is there a chance, like, what would you gauge the chances that this third fight, this rematch for the belts between Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman actually takes place at Wembley Stadium? Do you think Leon has enough of has enough power in this moment to be like, come on, man, like we got to do this? Do you think Dana can be convinced to make this happen in the stadium?
Oh, I mean, if Dana could guarantee it doesn't rain in London, England, then probably. But that's a tall order. That's like saying don't let the sun rise in Florida. It just doesn't. It happens like twice a year. So it's just hard because it's an outdoor arena. You don't want it to rain in a UFC fight. So if you could guarantee that, then yeah, I'm sure I'd give it a 10 out of 10 chance. But it's a weird scene holding stuff outside. But if they're gonna hold in a stadium show, the UK's the place to do it because they're used to watching sporting events in this big stadium, same as Australia. So if they're gonna go anywhere in London and they go to Wembley, so be it. Hope it doesn't rain in London. I know that's a tall order.
Absolutely. Co-main event, we saw just an insane fight between Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold. The stakes were very high for both guys. It was just a crazy battle. Went back and forth. If you told me that this fight was going to go to a decision, I would have laughed in your face heading into that fight. But we got a 15-minute war, and from all indications, the final one of Luke Rockhold's career. What did you think of the fight and Rockhold's decision to call it a career?
I mean, Rockhold's retired before, so I guess it doesn't surprise me, but also wouldn't surprise me if you walked it back like he did before. I don't know, it came off through the TV, but it was a weird fight, man, because like the crowd was booing, and the loudest pop of the night, besides Leon Edwards head kicking Kamaru Usman, was when I think that in the third round when Costa was just controlling Rockhold on the canvas and there was like nothing really happening and the crowd was getting real annoyed and booing when Luke hit the transition and got on top. It was like watching a knockout. Like people were just excited that Luke Rockhold did something, and they started rubbing blood into his head, and the place just went nuts. I was like, what? What am I missing here? It was just a basic transition to top control, but the crowd went nuts for it. So yeah, weird fight, exciting fight. Didn't expect Luke Rockhold to literally turn his back at points, put his hands on his knees. Paulo Costa threw almost no punches to the head, which was very weird. There was a lot of like body shots and head kicks, but Luke's hands were literally at his side, and I'm like, Paulo, just punch him in the head, and like that's all you have to do, and he just didn't do it. Weird, sloppy fight, and I was like, is this the worst fight I've ever seen, or the worst best fight I have ever seen? And I'm leaning towards the worst fight I have ever seen in the UFC. So I had a good time. It was crazy to watch, and people loved it, and I guess that's what's most important.
I mean, when you're pondering retirement and you head into the octagon, you think it might be your last fight. Like you want to go out with a win, obviously. But for Luke Rockhold, even going out on a loss, is this like the best way that he could potentially walk away from the sport right now? Like after a crazy fight like that, fans cheering for him. I mean, it's not a win, but this is about as good as it can get coming off of a loss, is it not?
Yeah. I mean, he got the respect of everyone not named Jake Paul, but who cares about that? Yeah, I mean, walked out with his head held high. Daniel Cormier left. I don't know if they showed it on the broadcast or whatever, but Daniel Cormier literally left the commentary booth to go hug Luke Rockhold, and Luke Rockhold was holding back tears, hugged Cheeto before he walked out, and then his teammates and him walked to the back. And Luke Rockhold, this is indeed the last time we see Luke Rockhold in the octagon. He's had 99% of the MMA world would kill to have his career. And obviously, he has a lot of opportunities outside of the sport. So I just hope whatever he does, he succeeds. And good on him for all week not holding back on the fighter pay talk, because he's definitely one of the louder voices and definitely pushed the narrative that most fighters should push.
Merab Dvalishvili defeats José Aldo. Wasn't the fight we expected, but Merab gets the biggest win of his career. Where do you think this win? We'll get to you, Jed. Quiet down over there. What does this win do for him? Like, where is he sort of in this Grand Prix of sorts at 135? Like, I felt like Cheeto Vera was the biggest winner tonight, but where does this put Merab after beating José Aldo?
I mean, it really depends on how the fight in Abu Dhabi plays out, because if TJ wins and they want to do Merab versus TJ because Merab wants to get revenge on TJ, so be it. But then Sugar Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan. I don't know, you don't give him a title shot against either TJ Dillashaw or Petr Yan. Or if they give Merab the title fight and then you do Cheeto versus Sean O'Malley for the #1 contender, that's if Sean O'Malley beats Petr Yan, which is also a tall task. If Petr Yan wins, he obviously has beef with Merab Dvalishvili too, because you saw what he was tweeting. So Merab rises, but there's a few other pins that have to fall down, because we also have the Sandhagen Song Yadong fight that is awesome. That also has to play out. So ask me again in October, and I'll have a better answer.
All right, last thing. Outside of the top 3 fights, what's the most memorable moment of the night for you? What stood out to you the most? Besides Dana saying that the Raiders almost got Tom Brady and Gronk.
No, I don't give a crap about that. I'm a sports fan. I don't like. I'm a sports fan, so I don't like the Patriots. I'd probably say, I mean, anytime you put big fat heavyweights fighting in altitude, that's always fun. The Jared Gordon fight was intriguing, and his post-fight interview, I think, stood out because he called out Paddy Pimblett, not because he doesn't like him or wants to rub, but because he wants to increase awareness towards mental health. And then he made a lot of other jokes about like his past drug issues and stuff. So at least he's making light of it. So probably those two. Amir Al-Bazzi obviously looked absolutely incredible, and he said modern day jiu-jitsu is watered down. And I was like, damn, I really want to see him fight someone in the top 5 at flyweight ASAP. So yeah, a lot of fun fights. Tyson Pedro obviously front kicked Harry Hunsucker, and then says he wants to run it back with Shogun, and he won't tell me why outside if he wants to get the win back. But he also promised someone that he would get it, and he'd tell me after he fights him. So all those, a lot of nuggets of interest after this fight card.
There you go, Jose. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I know it's chaos over there in Salt Lake City, but well done, my man. Safe travels back to Phoenix, and
Yay.
We'll see you on the next one, my man. And say goodbye to that guy, Mark Ramundi, over there, who just wants to get on camera so bad. Yeah, shouts to Ramundi. He just wants to be on camera so badly. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate it.
Can you give Ramundi a good chop across his chest right now? Just.
Oh yeah, just pop. Well, what is
on the podcast? On the podcast network, you're not going to be able to see the chop that Jose just landed on Mark, but Mark sold it absolutely perfectly. So, yeah. All right. Jose, enjoy the rest of your evening, and
good work, my guy.
Great job. Great work. Let's bring up Jed Meshew, because he's just been sitting back, waiting for his opportunity to wax poetically about what we saw tonight in Utah. It was a crazy card. There it is. There's Jed Meshew. Jed, Leon Edwards is the freaking champion of the world. And I don't think like the results, if like in a vacuum, is all that surprising, because I even tweeted out right before the fight, last chance, who's picking Leon Edwards? I couldn't believe the amount of responses of people saying Leon Edwards is going to win this fight. But after round 4, I don't think anybody expected Leon Edwards to win this fight. And he comes up, this, like Jose said, I don't think this is the most shocking moment in UFC history. But as you like to do on Damn They Were Good, this is a Mount Rushmore shocking moment in UFC history, is it not?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, this is, again, because it's exactly what you said, right? Like, it is not, if you had told me at the beginning of the night that Leon Edwards is going to win by head kick KO, I'd have been like, that's actually very plausible. Because I even wrote that was a possibility of my breakdown of this fight. Like, Kamaru Usman mostly blocks head kicks. He doesn't. And so, like, you should do that a lot just because it's a good thing. And that's a great way for you to knock somebody out if you've ever played UFC like 4 or whatever. But I would never have said it would have come after Leon looked defeated, because like he really just did. Like, I know some Twitter people are getting like really upset with the commentary team for saying it, but like he actively did look defeated at points in time. And at one point in time, he looked up to Herb Dean while he's getting smothered and like does the classic, I don't have any answers here, so I'm going to look to Herb Dean about what the hell's going on. Like, but it's a credit to Leon Edwards, because even though he was defeated in the 5th round, he pulled himself together and did what he needed to do. So at the beginning of the night, if you told me, not shocking, like not super shocking, surprising, with all the context, I think there's a good argument that this is the greatest KO in UFC history, like given the context of the moment.
Yeah, it was absolutely unbelievable, and it's just the roller coaster of the sport can provide. Jed, Kamaru Usman, had a tough first round. Leon Edwards capitalized on a very rare mistake from Kamaru, and maybe at that point people were like, oh, maybe Kamaru isn't taking this as seriously. But Trevor Whitman, great job in the corner, saying, look, you made a mistake. It's okay. It happens. Just don't make it anymore. And Kamaru's like, okay. And he came out and had a great 2nd round, great 3rd round, great 4th round, and a great 5th round until the head kick lands. But there is no other option here. We're running this one back a 3rd time. Like, a lot of people really weren't sure how this could go, especially with Khamzat Chimaev getting ready to fight Nate Diaz. Not that this is real title implications, but it's a huge fight. Chimaev is a rising star in the promotion. And now, obviously, Jorge Masvidal has tweeted out that, maybe we're going back to the UK. That's a big fight for Leon. That's one that he wants. It's a big fight for the UFC because Masvidal is a star. It would be a big fight for Leon as well, not just from the personal level, but for his bank account as well. But there's no other option here. We're going to London. We're going to do it either at the O2 or Wembley, and we're going to do Edwards Usman 3. Are we not?
We are. I dislike that because I've been on the record time and time again. I hate immediate rematches. Like, in any circumstance except for like an outright robbery or a very narrow window, that I'm okay with an immediate rematch. Like, there's just nothing else going on, because it feels unfair to me, to Leon Edwards. Like, he did the thing. He won the fight. He did the thing. Now he has to do it twice. And that has always felt very unfair to me, when you could just demand Usman gets one more win and then Leon can defend against somebody else. But that's not the reality that we live in. They're for sure going to run this back. And it'll probably be a really big fight. And if they can do it in England, that would be great. And I hope that they can do it. But if I was in charge, I probably would give it to Jorge Masvidal, even though that's like the worst kind of fight. It's big business. It's a reward for Leon for doing the thing. Like he did the thing. Let's reward him with a fight he very clearly wants, a fight he will win. You could do it in England, and then you can do Usman next, and it's okay. And you're getting at least one more squeeze out of Masvidal, because otherwise you're just not going to get one out of Masvidal. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, we'll run back Usman Edwards 3, and I mean, I won't say it was an entertaining fight, but it was very good mixed martial arts. So I got no issues in the aggregate.
Yeah, and another name that kind of slides back into the title conversation outside once this trilogy is wrapped and packed. Colby Covington now is back in the title picture, and I know that kind of rubs people the wrong way, but now you have a potential fresh matchup, and if Colby gets a win, he's probably right back in there. I have to say this before we move on. Besides Kamaru Usman, true or false, the biggest loser in this situation is Belal Muhammad. It has to be, because he was probably still like 2 or 3 wins away from getting to Usman anyways, because of he's not a huge star. Like, he's likable. He's on a good streak, and eventually he's probably going to get the Leon treatment. Like, he'd probably need 8 or 9 wins in a row and eventually get a title shot. But now that Leon's here, you got a trilogy fight coming up. If Chimaev beats Diaz, he's in the conversation. Masvidal's in the conversation. Colby's in the conversation. Belal, even if he puts the boots to Sean Brady, is probably taking a step back here, right?
I would disagree that he's the biggest loser, because I think Khamzat is the biggest loser, because Khamzat was going to get the next welterweight title fight, and now he's on ice, and he'll either fight Belal, which is probably, if Belal wins, and I don't think he will, because I think Sean Brady's really damn good, but if Belal does win, he is probably in a situation where he has to try and call out Khamzat, and Khamzat has to decide if he's ready to fight. Like, if he wants to continue fighting, then he'll get to, but otherwise he'll just have to wait for the winner of this bout. Which is a shame, because I've been pretty open about it. I think Khamzat would beat either of these men up if they got into a fist fight. I think he's probably the best welterweight in the world, and he's going to do horrible things to Nate Diaz, and then he's going to have to wait until next year to get a title fight. So I think he's the biggest loser. Also, it's hard for me to call Belal the biggest loser, because I don't think he's beating Sean Brady, so it kind of doesn't affect him in any regard. But if we're living in a world where he does beat Sean Brady, I'm still, like I said, I'm still not even sure it sets him back, because he was beating. I don't care if he tornado KO Sean Brady in 6 seconds. He's not getting a title fight. He's still at least 1, probably 2 wins away. So because you're right, he's the new Leon Edwards. Like, that's where it is. So I just don't think it sets him that back. He would have preferred it not happen, but I think ultimately it's not a huge difference for him.
Fair enough. Let's go to the co-main event.
Oh, no. First, I want to say one very important thing about the main event. I have a lot of thoughts about it, but we can get to questions. I'm sure a ton of them. That first round, buddy, I just want to talk about it, because we were in our work Slack, and we're talking about how weird this card was, and the altitude and funny, odd shit was happening. And so I went on DraftKings.com and I looked at the prop bets, and I was like, Leon Edwards by submission is an astronomical plus 24 and change hundred. That would be the silliest and stupidest possible outcome here. I'm going to bet on it. Just do a little bit down. And in the first round, when he gets to back and he is fishing an arm under, I was losing my mind. I was trying to live blog and not be like, do it, choke him. And I felt so good for such a brief moment in time. And that's why gambling is great. Just wanted to share that.
Don't listen to AK. AK says never gamble on MMA.
Gambling
Jed says absolutely gamble on MMA.
This fight would have been great anyway, but I had so much fun in that first round when it really looked like that was going to happen.
Oh, man, that would have been absolutely insane. You would have been taking a victory lap right now of epic proportions. Let's go to the co-main event, because we're talking about weird and crazy this one. And I was talking to Casey about this on the press conference show, that had that head kick not landed, we'd be spending the majority of the time on this post-fight show talking about this co-main event between Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold. And I think Jose sort of set the table perfectly here. It was either the best worst fight or the worst best fight, but it was a damn lot of fun watching it. I'm sure you enjoyed it. This is a much different fight than a lot of us expected, and I think that was sort of the theme throughout the night. But the co-main event, what did you think?
Fight ruled. I mean, I haven't done a decided list, but off the top of my head, it's the second best fight of the year. Obviously behind Yuri Prochazka over Teixeira. Like nothing's beating that fight. It's one of the three best fights of all time, if not just outright the best fight of all time. But I mean, I come down on the side that I think Jose ultimately settled on, that this was the worst best fight. There were a lot of bad tactical decisions and some real sloppiness, but it just enhanced the quality. And so it was great. And I tweeted it. If this is the last we see Luke Rockhold, it's a hell of a way to go out, man. Really good fight, really fun. In no way a fight I expected. I thought this was two true outcomes. Rockhold gets a takedown and wins, or Rockhold gets punched in the face and falls over. Somehow both of those things happened, but neither of them happened. It was very, very compelling watch. And if you bought this pay-per-view, the first two fights, not worth your money. We talked about it in the pre-show. But the main event outcome and that fight more than delivered for your purchase price this time around.
True or false? We have seen Luke Rockhold's last UFC fight.
I'm going to go false, but I don't have a ton of confidence behind that. I mean, he has left the sport before. It's hard for me. It makes sense. Him leaving at this point oddly makes sense and doesn't, right? Because we all talked about beforehand. We all thought that if he lost, he would leave. But I think, certainly for me, and I can't speak for you, but my belief was that if he lost, it was going to be brutally violent. And in the same way he's been losing, it was going to be a left hook that punches him unconscious. And he didn't. And I have a lot of questions on if Paulo Costa is good at fighting. I think he is, but I'm not. He is a very, very weird fighter for me to judge because he's obviously extremely durable. And I think his game is smartly built. But sometimes he fights really, really not smart. And he also, Luke Rockhold is his best win. And I'm not sure not knocking out Luke Rockhold, who's old and hadn't fought in 3 years, is actually a good win. If that seems disparaging, it probably is. But like, I just have a lot of questions about Paulo Costa. But he is one of the top 10 middleweights in the world, and he didn't like totally style on Luke. He won convincingly, but Luke had a ton of moments in that fight, and it is possible that fight could look very different, not at altitude, which seemed to play havoc with everybody tonight. So it was very odd that Luke lost the fight, but I don't feel he needs to retire, which is not a thing I would have thought coming into this. But if he's choosing to, it's really hard to walk out of MMA in a good place. That's about as good of a retirement as you can really hope for. But I think he's going to come back because he's done this before, and he's going to go back, and he's a little heartbroken. He's really sad about what happened, but then he's going to realize, I haven't fought in 3 years. And I just took a former title challenger, one of the top 10 guys in the world. We went hammer and tongs, and I tried really hard, but I wasn't there. But I have things to do. Like I still have more to give. And I just think his, for lack of a better word, I think his ego is going to catch him up, and he's going to come back in at some point.
I'll talk more about how I feel about the situation tomorrow on to the next one, because I think it's like 95% that he's done, but the 5% that I'm feeling could actually happen. And
95% in MMA retirement, you're going to say 95%.
I feel pretty strongly, unless this 5% comes through, and this number could probably be higher for me, but I actually think that this 5%, you can make a compelling case that this 5% grows. But more on that, 11 a.m. Eastern, on to the next one tomorrow.
Now I'm excited
we discussed matchmaking and what could be for both guys. And I thought we were going to talk a little bit more about Paulo Costa's future, but apparently he doesn't even understand his future at this point, because coming into the fight, we thought that was the last fight on his deal. Post-fight press conference, he said, I'm not really sure if it's the last fight on my deal, but if it is, maybe I'll go box Jake Paul, but it might not be. So we'll sit down and figure it out. So we're a little unsure of Paulo Costa's future at this moment.
Paulo, leave. If it's the last fight on your deal, leave. Go to the PFL, my guy. Just do it.
And you happen to be wearing a PFL shirt, so perfect.
Sure
You
I
did.
am.
You sure are. You did boo when I mentioned the featured bout.
Yeah,
Merab
everyone
Dvalishvili.
do.
Merab Dvalishvili defeats
shit.
José Aldo. You are not a fan of this decision.
I'm not a fan of the decision. It's not bad. I am in no way crying robbery. Officially, MMAfighting.com scored that fight for José Aldo because I scored the fight for José Aldo. I'm not a fan of everything that happened, right? Like, if you believe Merab Dvalishvili won that fight, I don't have any issues with it. Certainly, if that was a 5-round fight, Merab would have convincingly won that fight. But the entire premise of this fight was objectively stupid to start with. José Aldo had a good 3-fight winning streak over, I don't know, you guys ever heard of Chito Vera? He's doing pretty hot shit stuff right now. And Aldo's stunning on him. Like, he beat a lot of very good guys in this division, deserved to have a title fight against Aljamain Sterling. And they gave it to TJ Dillashaw because reasons. I don't know. Instead, he had to fight Merab. And I am not saying that Merab Dvalishvili is a bad fighter, because he's very, very clearly not. I'm very highly ranked in my personal rankings. I am saying he did not fight that fight to win that fight. He fought that fight to take judges' scorecards. And I am also not saying that José Aldo fought the best fight of his life. But at various points in time, he was at least trying to hurt Merab. And I never at any point got the opinion that Merab was trying to hurt Jose. I thought the first round, the judge who scored it 30-27,
Terrible.
he should be put up against the post and shot. This is awful. Like, you just shouldn't score the first round. I mean, the judging was horrific tonight, just really bad in a lot of spots. That was a really bad scorecard. I expected Merab to win to get to the second and third round. I'll have to rewatch it. Maybe I'm wrong. I gave the second round to Jose because he actually punched Merab some and kicked him a few times. And my issue with the fight is you could see when it happened. Like, you could see after round 1, Merab realized, I can just spam takedowns and I won't get any of them because I ain't that dude and Jose is. But I can just wall install him, and that's fine because I'm going to win the cards. And I would love to look at the stats. I know Casey hates stats. I can't imagine a bunch of significant strikes were landed either way. But the third round is a round that is like told, like, that is a Merab round, but that's how you're supposed to do that. If you watch the difference between rounds 2 and 3, Merab does nothing substantively offensive in round 2. He just grabs the leg, pushes Aldo to the fence, and holds on until Aldo can break it off. And in the third round, he actually starts putting punches together. He hits him a lot. Like, he is effectuating actual offense instead of wall installing. And so if he could have done that earlier, he just didn't. And so that's why I scored the round for Aldo. And again, a lot of it is, I just hand up, it's being butthurt that Aldo's in this position to lose this stupid fight in this very stupid, unappealing way. Like, if you're gonna beat Jose, Max Holloway it. Like, do something dope. Don't do that. Like, that was just super damn lame. So, I mean, it is what it is. Jose Aldo's greatest featherweight of all time, top 5 fighter of all time. I will, though, get on my soapbox and say, we gave Jose a title fight after he quote unquote lost to Marlon Moraes. Do it again. Shit, if I care, do it again. Run it back.
So the official stats overall, Merab outlands José Aldo significant strikes 57 to 38. Overall strikes 135 to 59. 0 for 16 for takedowns. Round 1, Aldo landed 15 of 25 significant strikes. Yep, Merab landed 16 of 49, but I definitely thought Aldo landed the way more
He
impactful
landed
shots.
way better, and the same in the second round. I'm looking at it right now. They both landed
Round 2, 11 to 11.
11-6.
And then
0 for
Merab clearly won
6
the
and a
third.
bunch of control time. Like, and I guess that's the crux of this here. It is less an issue with the scoring, though I still think by the rules stated, Aldo should have won the second round. I don't give a shit about control time, and no one should. Like, I know that is officially a third layer of scoring or whatever, but we shouldn't. I have a fundamentally huge issue with the way we score fights and a lot. And like, who gives a shit? Like, genuinely, who cares who is controlling a fight? Has no one, if you're not damaging or effectuating real offense, it's none of it matters. Like, I think we should be way more comfortable with being like, yeah, that round's a draw because neither of you hurt the other dude or tried to hurt the other dude. Like, I'm cool with that. It's never going to happen, but like, that's a hard pill to swallow that Merab won that round by holding a leg and holding a dude up against the fence. And credit to him, he could do it and Jose couldn't stop it. But I don't think that I don't believe that should be valued in the way it is valued at this stage.
Yeah, 30-27 is a terrible
It's an atrocious
scorecard.
scorecard.
It's a terrible scorecard. Good win for Lucy Pudilova.
Wasn't the worst of the evening, though.
No, we're going to get to that. Good win for Lucy Pudilova. Tyson Pedro, non-shocking result. Huh? Yeah, great win. She looked fantastic.
She looked really, really good.
The worst scorecards of the night came in the featured prelim between Marcin Tybura and Alexander Romanov. Jed, no, I don't think anybody in MMA media has been higher on Alexander Romanov than the two of us.
I ain't no more.
I had him ranked higher than anybody in our MMA fighting goal rankings. Really? Great rankings. I did. I had him 8, and I think you had him 9. I had him one spot above you. And I even wrote in my predictions this morning that released
we were both
this morning
wrong.
that Romanov was just going to truck Marcin Tybura. He was going to win a 10-8 first round, and then he was going to sub him in the second. And that in the next 18 to 24 months, he did. And then in the next 18, 24 months, he's going to fight for the title. Don't think that's going to happen right now. However, only one judge scored that first round 10-8 for Alexander Romanov. And to me, even though I thought 30-27 Merab was a horrific scorecard, not giving Romanov a 10-8 in that first round is pure. It's just absolutely egregious. What else do you have to do to get a 10-8? Besides, I mean, he got trucked in that round and didn't land one strike. Not one strike did he land in that first round. He basically got perfect gamed, and that's a 10-9. I just don't understand it. I mean, but I will say this, and I'm sure you agree with me on this. Romanov deserved to lose the fight. Like, he definitely deserved to lose.
You've been reading my tweets because, yes, I tweeted that right after where I was just like, officially, this is a horrific decision. It very obviously should be a draw. Spiritually, Romanov, spirit of the law, Romanov deserves to lose. Not because, just to be clear, not because Marcin Tybura beat his ass or whatever, because he really didn't, but just because you should be punished if you're awful. And boy, howdy. I am very disparaging to fighters all the time. Everyone watching this should be aware of this by now. Some of it's tongue in cheek. Most of it's just me talking because it's stuff I believe. But I mostly try not to be really. I try not to do exactly what I'm about to do, which is it is entirely inexcusable to have 5 minutes of cardio when you are winning, and not barely winning. He just sat on him. I know he did 2 big lifts. Boom. That's tough. I have thrown bags over my shoulder. It's very difficult. But I can throw 2 of them and then sit on top of a bag for 5 minutes, and I won't be gassed. You are a professional athlete and a fighter, ostensibly a pretty good one. And he was gassed after 5 minutes, all of which he was in controlling position and just mostly leaning on Tybura. That is, I won't say it's the most inexcusable part of the night, but maybe it is. But I mean, a lot of people did it was a bad night in a lot of ways. Like some of the refereeing was terrible. Some of the judging was terrible. Among the worst fight IQ I've ever seen occurred on this, this fight card. But Romanov being unable to get the fight he wanted and just be like, I'm done. I had a good 4 minutes in me. That's it. I got nothing else. Like, that is inexcusable. And so strictly because of that, he deserves to lose spiritually, because you can't do that as a professional fist fighter. It's not real.
Yeah, not a great showing, but Tybura gets the win. Jared Gordon got a win. Luis Saldana, speaking of not
I was
great
about to,
fight IQ and making mistakes.
also, I just so we're clear, I want to make sure I've got this right. Somebody scored. This is the worst scorecard of the evening, because somebody scored the first round for Woodson 10-8. I'm almost
They
certain that
did?
that is true. I am. Let me pull up MMA decisions, but I am almost certain that somebody scored the first round of that because of the point deduction. No. Okay, I thought I saw that somewhere. No,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that would have been
9-9.
really, really terrible.
That's what I thought we had going. Still don't love these
All right,
scorecards though.
I got it right now. Yeah, 9-9-9-9-9-9.
Yeah, I thought I saw
9-9.
on
So
Twitter
they
that
yeah.
someone said because it was like because it was a split draw and seemed very odd to me. But yeah,
Yeah, I
Saldana,
scored it.
horrific fight IQ.
Yeah, I scored it almost the same that Montana's did. I thought Saldana won all 3 rounds for sure.
He shouldn't have lost 2 of them.
Yeah,
If he
that's for
wanted,
damn sure. So
yeah.
that's a bad card.
Also,
Derek Cleary,
uh,
shame on you.
I'd like to be extremely clear. He should have won the first round 9-8. Like, pretty
Yeah, I
obviously.
agree. I agree with you. I
That's
think 29-26 is how I scored it for Saldana.
absolutely shameful that he didn't win the first round 9-8. Like, that is because I can see. I can't. Okay, fundamentally disagree with not giving Romanov, and I think the rules agree you're supposed to give Romanov a 10-8, but you can at least, if you're being a real dipshit judge, you can read the rules in such a way that Romanov did not do enough damage despite holding the position, that because the way it's worded, if they do X amount of damage, you are compelled, you must award a 10-8 is the way the language is. But if they just have dominance in control and duration, you may award. So if you're being just the worst kind of human being that's judging a fight, there's at least a justification to not give Romanov a 10-8. But there's by the letter of the law, there's no world in which Saldana doesn't get a 9-8 in that fight. Like, he very clearly did X amount of damage that compels you to give him a score of 9-8. So I
Yeah.
think I think that is the worst card of the evening.
Bad judging. Also some bad refereeing in my eyes,
Oh,
because I think
horrific.
Saldana should have lost 2 points for that knee, because that was like a near concussive, like fight-changing illegal
Yeah.
shot. Like, I would have no issue if 2 points were taken away on that one. I would have been actually okay with it. I would have applauded that, but that didn't
I
happen, and here we
I
are.
agree. Also, spiritually, we should just allow you to knee people in the head because we're stupid that we don't.
Yeah, and
But
just
I
grab the
agree.
fence,
The,
because
the rules
yeah,
are the
just
rules. He should have been deducted 2 points.
poke him in the eye, kick him in the ding ding, grab the fence, grab the gloves.
Really should
No
put
one's
people
gonna
in the
stop you.
eyes. It is
No
such a
one's
good
gonna stop
move.
you. Angelosa, good win. Amir Albazi, man's gonna be a problem at 125.
Dude,
Good win for
look
Richie
good.
Lang. It was a fun fight with Jay Perrin. And Victor Altamirano kicks the night off with violence and gets himself 50 Gs, along with Leon Edwards and Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold for the fight of the night. One last thing I want to say before we go to the peeps. We mentioned Belal Muhammad or Khamzat might have been the biggest losers when it comes to the main event and how it played out. I think the biggest winner of the night outside of that, with one of these 3 big fights, was Chito Vera. I think Chito Vera is now driving the truck right now in this little Bantamweight Grand Prix. He's definitely ahead of Merab in this conversation. Like, Merab is not out of it, but he's Cheeto's way ahead of him right now. And then it all depends on, like, if Piotr Jan beats Sean O'Malley, Cheeto's probably getting, and Sterling wins, Cheeto's probably getting the title shot. But that's at least the way I see it.
Maybe. There's a world where if Sterling wins, he does, because he's talked about vacating and moving up. he does that, and then they do Merab versus Petr Yan, and Cheeto has to fight. I don't know. Maybe you do the Aldo rematch, so they probably do Aldo Cruz at this juncture. He certainly gained. I don't know how much. A lot of it will depend on 280 and what goes down there, because it will all be entirely moot if Sean O'Malley wins. If Sean O'Malley finds a way to beat Petr Yan, nothing matters. He's fighting for the belt.
Yep. All right, let's go to the piece. Let's take a few questions.
Let's do it.
There's Casey back in our lives.
Hi. I look at the two greatest judges right here. You and me, Jed.
I know we nailed it, and I will, because I'm sure somebody in the comments is calling me a homer. Yep, damn sure. Don't care. Stand by it.
The fight reminded me of the Merab fight, round 2 especially, of Ketlin Vieira versus Holly Holm. I scored that fight for Holly Holm. I scored that fight for Holly Holm because I thought
I might have to.
And I thought at the moment, it was like, well, she's holding against the cage and she kept kneeing her in the legs. That's what Merab was doing. But then everyone's like, no, significant strikes were for damaging strikes were for Vieira. I was like, okay, I'm wrong. Then I see this fight and I'm okay, this is the same fight. It's Aldo that's doing the damage. But I don't know. I was kind of shocked when I saw the media scores. I thought it would be a lot. I was kind of shocked that we were the only ones that had Aldo winning round 2, but
yeah, I'm pretty surprised by that as well.
Yeah, here we are. Because I know. Here we are. But all right. Oh, interesting. More of a comment, but a little bad streak for Trevor Whitman.
That's tough.
Yep.
Especially because that one was looking like it was good for him.
Yeah. So Rose, Justin, and Usman. Yeah. So he just coaches, camps, they have their ups and downs, that's just how sport goes.
Yep.
It's why MMA rules.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't get to mention this, and I'm just going to get on my soapbox right now. Mike, what do I say all the time about the hardest thing to do in MMA?
Successfully defend your titles over and over again.
Yeah, it's really, really damn difficult because you can't ever slip up. You get everybody's best shot every time. And you get a guy like Leon Edwards, who's a hard-ass mother effer, who has spent his entire life climbing it out of the ditch. And he has been looked over and bypassed and run down. I've done a lot of it, and I don't regret a single bit of it that I did, just
Most
so
of it
we're
from
clear.
you, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't regret a single thing I said, but you get a dude like that who is very good and very talented, and it takes one slip up, 1 second, and he is going to do everything he can because this is his entire life. And so it doesn't matter if you're fighting, if you're George St. Pierre and you're fighting Dan friggin' Hardy, it just happens. And so please, I am begging you all. I know that the UFC has one way to promote, 2 ways. Either it's bad blood or he's the greatest fighter that's ever lived. But 6 is not as many as 9. I'm sorry, 5, because he didn't successfully defend this one. And that is not a knock on Kamaru Usman. It is impossible to have 5 title defenses. It is unbelievable that he did that. But please, he wasn't close to George St. Pierre in the GOAT talk. He was the second best welterweight of all time and a top 10 all-time fighter. And that is an unbelievable accomplishment. But we don't have to pretend that he has surpassed GSP because we want to be part of history. And that's what it is. It is a compulsion on us to be this thing now in front of us. This is ours, and it's the greatest it's ever been. Because if Usman had gone out here and won that, and he was damn very close to it, he's still not GSP. But if he goes out and continues winning, then he can be. And then it's justified and it's real and it's not a fabrication. So please, I am begging everyone, respect the fighters who have put in the work time and again. Because if Leon gets 2 title defenses, he's not better than Kamaru Usman. I don't give a shit that he just knocked Kamaru Usman out. He is historically not better than him. Even if he wins the rematch and defends against Jorge and Covington, he's just not better than what Usman did.
Max
It is
Holloway.
okay.
Max Holloway
Max
is not
Holloway's
better
not
than,
better than José Aldo.
José Aldo. He beat him twice.
Yeah.
I was gonna use that. I was gonna use that as a shot at the end.
Exactly, it's it. And there's nothing wrong with you being the second greatest person all time in the history of a thing. That's in fact incredible, and we should all be like, holy shit, that's unbelievable. But instead it's just like, he might be the greatest. I don't know. He wasn't. I mean, this is why. Because your off nights, or not even an off night, Usman was very much on. And it just
It was really his off second, and that's all it takes.
off second, because this sport is insane and chaos reigns forever. And I just want people to stop and think about that a lot more, because people get way too excited about that and about winning multiple belts, and that's cool. But like, nobody appreciates Demetrius Johnson enough. I genuinely
100%.
don't.
I'm glad
I
you said
genuinely
that.
do not believe we will see a person do what Demetrius Johnson did. And I know people want to run that down like flyweight sucked. Actually, no, all of those wins are mostly really damn good wins. And I think there's a very real chance that in my lifetime of following the sport, we never see someone put that together, because it was impossible. What he did was impossible. What George St. Pierre did was impossible. What Kamaru Usman did was impossible, but it just wasn't as impossible as what George did. He wasn't there yet. So I'm off my soapbox now, but
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
There's only one fighter in the sport who has any chance of beating that record, and it's Valentina Shevchenko. I don't think anybody else.
I think she's
that's
the
even
only one who
tough.
has a chance, and I don't even think that will happen, because we just saw how difficult this is.
Yeah,
So
100%. 100%. Like, I think outside of Valentina, the current active leader is now Israel Adesanya, who is 5, and he's got a tough task with Alex Pereira coming up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's go to the peeps. We'll take a couple questions.
Oh, but before we go to the peeps, real quick to Jed. Before the fight, you were mentioning a lot, and I agreed with it. You know, you were like, Leon Edwards has to have the perfect fight to win. Usman doesn't have to have the perfect fight.
genuinely thought he did. I was super wrong.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's just the sport, and like
That's it.
And Usman did. I mean, clearly Edwards did not have the perfect fight. Actually, Edwards had probably a kind of a crappy fight, and yet he
I
somehow
thought he
won.
fought really badly, actually.
Yeah.
Not that he fought badly. I thought he fought.
It wasn't
I
the
am
best.
not.
Yeah.
I am not an MMA coach or whatever, but like, and maybe this is way too simplistic, and that's totally fair. And if it is, hand up. Like, I'm a dude talking out of his ass on camera, whatever. But like, to me, and I wrote about this in the thing, like, the most important thing Usman had to do a couple of things. Like, he needed to not get wrestled. He needed to have a plan to work the jab. The most important thing he needed to do was he needed to win the footwork battle. He needed to be the one coming forward, because he's not that good fighting. Like, he's fine, but he's not a great fighter off the back foot. And nobody in MMA is good at fighting off their back foot. Like, there are 3, maybe 4 fighters who are legitimately talented people working backwards. Everybody is just worse at it. Kamaru Usman especially. And if you go and watch the Colby Covington fight, he wins that fight in the first 3 rounds. He is always coming forward. He starts backing up in the latter 2 rounds, and Colby starts winning the fight. Like, that's just, he is not as good working the counter and working off the back foot. And every second that Leon did take the center and did push the action, he had way more success. Ultimately, kicking Usman in the face. It's just, I thought he should have been doing that the whole time. His corner was begging him to do it, but he really, really struggled with it. And Mike, you said at the start of this that starting round, or at the end of round 4, nobody thought Leon was winning. I thought Leon was screwed at the end of round 2, because the takedown started coming, and he was just immediately getting his back to the fence, like instantaneously just conceding. I was like, he can't win here. He doesn't have the shot to do it off the back foot. But then he didn't. So I thought he fought really poorly, actually, and it didn't matter. I was super wrong on that, because I thought he had to be perfect. He fought poorly, but he took advantage of the moment.
And I'd like to point out the similarities, kind of the funny similarities to this fight and Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz.
It was very funny.
And I've watched the clip of Usman getting knocked out many times, but what actually was more important than the clip of him getting knocked out, there was nothing happening for about 20 seconds before that. They were both kind of just standing there looking at each other for about 20 seconds. Nothing happens. And then, boop, knockout. And that's a lot. I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but that's how Nate. We were kind of beginning going into this fight. We're like, Leon just has these lapses, but it was Usman that had a lapse.
Usman that had the lapse.
It was just
He had a lapse early and a lapse late.
Yeah, then in the lapse early, it was like, okay, he recovered.
I'm not even sure. I think that was less of a lapse than he just genuinely did not expect it. Well, I don't think he was like brain farting. It was just like that. Why you would try and take me down? What? And then suddenly he was mounted. It was awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was just it's wild.
I'm really glad Leon got to do that in the first, because I think it substantively changes the narrative of this fight. Like, we're still going to get some lucky shot stuff coming out of this anyway, but because Leon won the first round and did that, I think that narrative is really diminished, which always makes me happy, because I think lucky shot is a stupid narrative. I don't want to have it.
All right, you can pull up a question, but let me ask you this real quick, Jed.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you picking in the rematch right now?
Leon.
Okay.
I picked Leon in this one, and granted, the fight did not look really anything like I thought it would. But I don't have the stats in front of me. I am going to assume that the statistics for younger fighters who win the rematch going into the trilogy is, because the fighters who win the rematch going into the trilogy is already vastly weighted towards that. We've seen a couple notable exceptions to that recently, Amanda Nunes, Davis Figueiredo, but I'm just going to assume that when you also factor in the younger guy, that number still moves really heavily towards the guy who won the rematch. And so, but I say I'm really interested, because how does Usman react to getting knocked out like that? Leon will come into that knowing I didn't do enough. Like, I got the win, but I was really close to not. So he'll be super, super geared up for it. I think it's a really fascinating trilogy fight.
And we have to assume that
is.
We have to assume the fight will be at sea level ish too, and that's going to
it's going to be in the UK. It's going to 100% be in the UK. You have to do it there.
I mean, sure hope you do. And
yeah, it's promotional malpractice if it is not in London.
Ooh, I love this question, because it's one of two.
Yeah, it's that or Anderson versus Chael, right?
I guess that's okay. One of three. I, for whatever reason, blanked on that one. It's that Anderson Chael, which is still probably the number one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's probably number one, actually. And then this or the Miesha Tate fight.
Misha and Holly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Misha getting the belt was.
I was thinking
that fight was over, and then she got takedown, took the back, choked her. Actually, very similar in the way the fight played out versus Leon, but for how the ending was.
Yeah.
It was tied. It was tied heading into the fifth round, wasn't it?
I don't remember it being tied. I remember Misha won one round because she got a takedown, and I thought Holly was beating the hell out of her.
It was a 10-8 though, wasn't it?
It could have been. I don't know if they had released scorecards, but I remember Misha had that choke till the end of the round. But
my
before,
recollection is that Misha won one round, and
Holly was winning that fifth round till she wasn't.
Holly was winning the fifth round until she got
just like tonight's
down
fight. Just like it wasn't like Leon was dominating the fifth round and finished it. Leon was about to lose that fifth round again. Biggest comeback UFC history, high stakes. It's at least for KO finishes in the fifth round. Yeah, I would say without a doubt. I mean, you obviously have like the Pat Barry's, Chet Congo type, but it's just the stakes weren't as high, obviously. And this was just,
yeah. All three judges gave Miesha Tate a 10-8 in the second.
She did get a 10-8. She lost the other three, and Holly was winning the fifth until she got taken down and choked out. So,
yep.
But had she not gotten the finish, probably still would have been. It would have been a draw.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe they give her another 10-8, and then that would have been wild shit. But
that'd been crazy.
I can't believe they never rematched, right?
Nope.
Yeah. No, but they should.
It makes sense. Yeah.
You know who else never rematched? Luke Rockhold and Chris Weidman.
Yeah, I thought
I'd love to watch them fight again.
I think the timing of that could work.
I think that fight just makes a lot of sense and
Yeah.
would be fine. Luke acquitted himself well.
Yeah. Two old guys. This isn't
Yeah,
Luke.
two old guys.
Yeah. Just I just saw lots of compliments for Luke actually in the comments on Twitter and everything. I think that fifth round really kind of saved in the fifth round, and his post-fight interview almost kind of saved Rockhold's legacy, And
Unbelievable post-fight interview.
Yeah,
A couple of really good ones. Leon's was some
Yeah.
moving shit.
So
Great stuff.
Good job UFC doing those interviews.
Does this shocking win make the welterweight division more fun now? I mean, if he gets another one, then I don't know. Well, it makes it more interesting for sure.
Ooh, well, it does make it more interesting. I mean, the division's always been fun. There's an argument that Leon Edwards being your champion by definition makes the division less fun. Because I know he just authored one of the greatest KOs in the history of the sport, but like, again, I don't think we can stress enough that that's so out of character. Like, Leon Edwards has, I think, 2 KOs in the UFC, and one was his debut. Like, it's just so. Yeah, Seth Baczynski. It wasn't his debut because he lost his debut. Seth Baczynski in 2015. Oh, I guess he TKO'd Peter Sabata, but I guess it's just not a thing he does. Also, it's Peter Sabata. It's not Kamaru Usman. So it's so unbelievable that this happened. But like, he also went to a not that interesting decision with Nate friggin' Diaz. But we're getting this fight first, and that fight's going to be awesome. So it probably makes it more exciting. But the real cynical view is that it makes it lamer.
Yeah, the build to this fight like aged really well. It just got more interesting the closer we got to the actual fight. 4 rounds into it, it got a lot less interesting, and then it ended the way that it did. But now the rematch is going to be super interesting because Leon clearly wasn't at his best. I believe him when he says that the altitude like did make him tired, but it like kind of made his body feel a little funny. And Usman's gonna learn a lot from this loss too. So adjustments will be made. It will not be the same fight this time around, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see it.
I really get that. Like Leon said, I wasn't tired. I just couldn't do things because like there's literally less oxygen getting to your brain. Yeah. It's just like you just.
And Usman was good to go. Here. Yeah, Usman was good to go.
Doesn't he train in Denver?
Yeah,
exactly. So it was just higher elevation.
Used to it. Yeah. That's. I again not a rocket doctor or whatever. And I'm sure that sleeping in an sleeping in a hyperbaric, whatever, like I'm sure that helps, but they always say that that's the thing. He is like, okay, cool. He's not training in one. So
unless someone's punching you while you're sleeping,
maybe he should it has always baffled me because I know that it is expensive, but like replicate fight conditions. Just because sure, you sleeping in the tent or whatever is better than you not sleeping in the tent. But you know what's better than that? Like training the way you're going to fight in the conditions you're going to fight. Like that's why Fabricio Verdum went to Mexico City 2 months beforehand and beat the hell out of Velasquez almost exclusively because he just did the smart thing. Like just do the smart thing, man. Do the smart thing.
I remember basically Kane just kind of roundabout said at the time, I just didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
To bring my and it was just impossible too because at the time AKA was very successful and he just couldn't afford to bring every coach down to Mexico City. It was just no way for him to do it or pay these coaches enough. But
it's really difficult. It's very inconvenient. But like, if you're Leon Edwards and you know for a fact that Kamaru Usman is training at elevation. You getting a tent that lowers your oxygen intake just ain't doing shit, man. Like you gotta.
You're just sleeping badly.
This is your one shot at the title, and it worked out for him. I'm glad it did because great. It's really fun that he won the belt, but yeah, they always say that like he's good. He's sleeping in it. Cool. Is he running in it? Is he fist fighting people in
Yes.
it? Because those are very different things.
He
I'm
just-
not spending a lot of energy when I sleep, so I don't know.
He just takes a nap and some random sparring partner just comes and takes him down. Like,
Piece of shit.
I lost the question. I don't know where it was on here, but I'll just ask what they said. Who's pound for pound number one now?
The same guy who was pound for one. I mean, I know, Jed, you have a different guy than I have.
I have a
But
different one than everybody else.
yeah,
Well,
was
who's
Volk-
the
I was
UFC
Vol- it was
going to
number
say the
one.
pound for pound? Who's the UFC
Oh,
going to
Volk,
say?
they're going to say Volkanovski.
That was
They say
gonna be Volk now?
Volkanovski is.
It's going to
Yeah,
be Volk.
Volk for. I assume he's number 2 in their rankings. I could be wrong. Pull it up. Oh, he is number 2. Yeah, they're going to move him to number 1.
Yeah, he'll
It's
be number
Israel.
one.
It's Israel Adesanya. Sorry.
I still
It
have
just-
Izzy. I had Izzy coming into this fight. I still have Izzy, but
If Usman had won, I actually think he would have passed Izzy. But it's the same thing. On my soapbox, Volkanovski may be the best fighter in the world if you're just looking at skills, etc. But
that's
Izzy has beaten more people in his division that are very good than Volk has. Volk's beaten Max Holloway 3 times, which is great. Super incredible accomplishment. He beat Max Holloway and Brian Ortega. And Korean Zombie, and your mileage varies on how truly impressive that is. Israel's beaten literally everyone in the top 5 of his division except for Alex Pereira, who just moved into the top 5 of his division. I think he's clearly the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world.
Before we head out, actually, I want to ask Mike something. Coming into this fight, you mentioned, you said there was so much pressure on Usman. If he loses this, he loses everything. He loses going to 205. He loses all this, all that stuff. Do you still believe that's true?
Yes.
You know what I'm
Because
trying to
I
say?
think-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's because, and this is the whole thing about it, which I agree with everything Jed said about the whole GSP thing. Like, it was way too soon to be talking about that, but you can have a tremendous Hall of Fame career being the number 2 welterweight of all time, and he still had a long way to go.
Fighter.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Usman is
It's incredible.
undeniably a top 10 all-time fighter.
Yeah.
Pound for
Right.
pound all
But-
time. GSP is number
But-
1. He's number 1. Like, that's just it. That's the answer.
Yes. But I don't know. It's just, to me, that there were certain narratives that were put on this man that it was probably too soon for it. And, pressure mounts and stuff like that. You're talking about going to 205 and boxing Canelo and all those things. And that's cool. Like, you have goals and you have aspirations. I don't think he was like overlooking Leon Edwards at all.
I don't think so.
But for the things he was saying that, I want to be the best to ever do it. I want to be the greatest of all time. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, I think a lot of that is gone right now. Now, he could go out there and just
do it.
That's the question I
Wreck.
wonder, actually. Yeah.
right. He could go out there and just wreck Leon Edwards in the next fight, like a Volkanovski Korean Zombie type of performance, or a Volkanovski Max Holloway.
Or even
3
GSP
type of
Sarah 2.
performance.
How about GSP Sarah 2? You
Yeah,
almost
but I don't
forget the first one. The first one doesn't matter.
compare the two, though.
Two, which I think is like no disrespect to Volkanovski's absolute dismantling of Korean Zombie. GSP Sarah 2 is, I think, the single biggest ass kicking I've ever seen in a professional fist fight. Like, that was an exorcism.
Coming off someone that just kicked your ass. That's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that was an exorcism. So if he does that in this rematch, whoo, buddy.
Right, but I don't. Like I said, I didn't compare this fight to Pena Nunes. I didn't compare this fight to Sarah GSP. I compared this to Weidman Anderson Silva. That's how I compared it. Like, I think that's a more apt comparison. Like, this is an upset by betting line terminology and just where Usman was and where Leon was and how people viewed both guys at the time. But this was not like I said all week. So many people thought Leon was going to win. Like, it was amazing.
I picked Leon. I don't think
Leon was going to win.
We didn't pick this way, but we did pick. Me and Jed did pick Leon.
The result and how it all played out is stunning. But him leaving Salt Lake City with the welterweight champion is not that surprising. When Matt Serra beat GSP, no one saw that coming. When Juliana Pena beat Amanda Nunes, only one person saw that coming. Nobody else did. So I don't think, like, while you can play the fluke card, which I don't like that card being played at all, but if you want to play the fluke card with Juliana Pena and you want to play the fluke card with Matt Serra, I don't think you could play it here. Like there will be people who will play it, but not as many as those two fights. So I do think Usman takes a hit. This rematch, whenever it happens next year in the UK, Usman doesn't just have to win; he has to blow the doors off this man if he wants to get some of that juice back. At least that's what I think.
Much
At
like
least it's
Nunes
what I
had to
think.
do to Pena in the rematch, just blow the doors off her. Like,
I think if he wins convincingly, it's okay because again, I'm not going to knock him huge for the loss. If he comes back and wins convincingly, maybe doesn't get a stoppage, but he wins a 49-46 like he was on his way to doing. I think it doesn't get him all the way back, but it puts him back into top three-ish pound for pound fighter range. And again, Kamaru Usman still could end up being the greatest welterweight of all time. I would not bet on it, but I wouldn't have bet on it for years. It's because it's just really hard to do. But this doesn't ruin his campaign. It is definitely a setback. I have a question for you guys, though. I don't think this is going to happen, but I just thought of it, and it would be way, way better. I think the funniest and best outcome is what if Usman's just like, you know what? No, I'm good. I've done the welterweight thing.
I'm just going to go to 205 anyways.
Yes, Leon can have it. I'd like to go fight the winner of Yuri Prochazka Glover Teixeira because that would be the best. I'm really rooting for that. I don't think it'll happen.
If he comes out and does his first interview, which will probably be with like ESPN or something, if he comes out and that's like the first thing he says, that would be awesome. That'd just be amazing.
Like
and Jorge Masvidal's getting a friggin' title shot.
Yeah, it's just like I have a lot of respect for Leon. He really wants to fight Jorge, and that's cool. Like I understand why. Let him do it. Let Leon get the bag. He earned it. He kicked my ass. Good for him. All the stuff I said before, I want the respect. I still want that respect. So I'd like to go fist fight Yuri Prochazka. That would be awesome. Do that.
I don't think he loses. I don't think he's going to lose respect for this. I think it's a giant step back for the all-time greats, like the Canelo's talk, the 205. Like maybe he just will say, "Screw it, I'm bored. I want to go to 205." But I don't think he's getting right into a title fight. Like if he had won this fight and he just said, "Nah, I'm not going to fight Khamzat. I'm going to go fight for the light heavyweight title," I think the UFC would have let him do it. Like Dana was hesitant and been like, if I was I'm just his promoter. If I was his manager or whatever, I would tell him not to do it. But if he wants to do it, I'm going to let him do it. But I think that's off the table for now, unless he just is like, I'm never fighting for the welterweight title. Yeah. And these are the things I'm talking about. Like, I don't mean like his entire legacy is crushed, but him going up to 205 and fighting for a second title, all of that stuff goes away.
Think they remove him from Black Panther? Like
no.
Let's get Leon.
No, and
we don't want
he'll probably get more. He'll probably get more movie roles. You know what I mean? Like Kamaru is a very talented dude. He's a very well-spoken guy. Like I think he's a great color commentator too. Really good.
We talked about a lot. He's very good on the mic in that regard.
Very good on the mic. He's got a bright future. He doesn't need to fight anymore if he doesn't want to. He's a competitive son of a gun, so he will. And I don't think it would be hilarious if that happened. He just said, "Nah, I'll go to 205. I don't care what anybody says. I'm just going." It'd be hilarious, but there's no way Usman's not like pissed off and like already thinking about fighting Leon Edwards again. So, yeah.
Could we see Leon Edwards being a great long-running champion, or is this just a guy that wins? A guy that's, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
I don't know, man. He's a really good fighter, and I think he's a really good matchup for Usman in a lot of ways, and I think that's why a lot of people thought he had a chance to win. Like the fight through 4.5 rounds is exactly the way I thought it was going to go. I thought he was just going to wrestle him. Like Leon would have his moments, but like we're going to see a 49-46 for Usman. Like read my prediction. It's exactly how I laid it out.
Yeah, the fight was going very much how you thought it was going to go, actually, until that aspect.
But stylistically, I think Chimaev is a horrendous matchup for Leon. I think Colby's a horrendous matchup for Leon. I think he'll probably beat Masvidal, but even with like the emotions there, like I think he'll beat Masvidal. Like there's just tough match. There's just a lot of like really rough stylistic matchups for him. But who knows? Maybe he catches. Maybe this is like the beginning of him just and it's hard to say when you have an 11 fight unbeaten streak that maybe now he'll catch lightning in a bottle, but who knows? Maybe he'll just go and blow the doors off Kamaru, and like his confidence is just at this all new level after the second fight. And who knows? I don't think he's going to get 5 to 6 title defenses with Chimaev and some of those other guys, but I could see him beating Usman again and maybe getting
Brady.
Yeah, we got Shavkat coming up.
Yeah, Shavkat.
Yeah.
He
just
could get one
there's a lot
or
of
two.
just tough matchups for him.
Yeah, he's going to be like Benson Henderson. Champion, had a couple of defenses. Most of them are robberies, but like, very solid guy, undeniably a top 5 fighter in the division, and I call him a justified champion because Benson probably shouldn't have ever been one, but
he had some good wins.
He will be a good, but he just didn't actually ever beat Frankie Edgar, so he shouldn't have ever won the belt. But he will have good wins, and is a legitimate champion. But no, I would be very shocked if he put together like a 5-6 fight run as champ.
Guys, Leon Edwards is the UFC champion. That's just
it's incredibly funny.
You know what? It's unbelievable, and this is a guy who like straight up legit paid his dues and got there and got it done in the most improbable yet, I don't know if hilarious is the word.
It's
like
hilarious.
In context of it all and just the whole story of this entire card. But there's just with the way that the co-main event played out and like the kind of letdown with the Merab Aldo fight and some of the weirdness that happened in the prelims, like this. Let me ask you this, Jed, and I'll get your take on this, Casey, because I know we kind of talked about this off air. But if that head kick doesn't land and Usman just rides out the 5th round and wins the fight, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy at all, but is this the worst pay-per-view of the year?
I'm really bad at answering this because I don't remember Like I just don't remember cards that well. I'd have to go back and look at what the pay-per-views were. I remember the first one, the Ngannou, like 71.
270.
270. I remember that one being bad. But I don't know if it was worse or not than this one. This can't be the worst pay-per-view of the year just because the co-main event was dope.
Was it?
Yeah,
but
all the
co-main event was really fun.
Great. Yeah,
we
got 2 finishes, but I mean, no one was really excited.
Those could have been prelim fights, early prelim fights. Yeah,
they weren't even like that fun of finishes.
Yeah,
but the co-main event was one of the best fights of the year, so I struggle to think this would have been the worst pay-per-view of the year. But
it's such a weird question.
Also,
it's such a weird question because most of the pay-per-views are friggin'. Most of the pay-per-views have been awesome, like way over delivering, like really good stuff. And we got 280 coming up, and then 277 was good. 276 was.
That's the other thing here.
Ended
Mike.
poorly.
This is a useless question because 279 is an abomination. That's going to be the worst pay-per-view of the year.
We got
Tony Ferguson fighting Li Jingliang now.
Which I'm sure you guys caught on to the next. I'm sure that was the fight after Chandler knocked him out.
No, it was not. What, you're not excited about Danielle Wolf's UFC debut on a pay-per-view card?
I'm excited about literally 0 fights on that card. 0 of them.
Come on, let's go out on a better note, guys. Come on.
All right. But
Leon Edwards' post-fight speech was one of the best things that's happened this year.
Yeah.
Because
awesome.
That dude was that was everything you would expect of a guy in that position who, like you said, Mike, paid his dues every step of the way, doubted.
Yep.
I'm going to touch back to a thing I said, I guess 2 pay-per-views ago. I know that I'm apparently on an island. I absolutely hate that Alexander Volkanovski acts as if he's doubted or people don't believe in him or respect him because he was a huge favorite. I mean, he's a minus 200 some odd favorite over Max Holloway. Nobody in the world doubted him, but he just like fabricates this thing. And so after the fight, he's like, "Oh, you all doubted me, blah." No one did. And the reason I hate it is for nights like tonight because everyone did doubt Leon Edwards. Yes, a lot of people coming into this were said that he could win. But look at the betting line. Look at what has happened. Look at the shit I have talked about Leon for the last year and a half. And again, I stand by everything I said because I never said he was a bad fighter. Say he's super boring. And a lot of people did doubt that man. And so when Volk does something like that, it just rings hollow. It's that is you making something up because you're that, like, you have to do that or whatever. And that's fine if you have to motivate yourself that way, but don't project that out into the world as if it's true when it's obviously horseshit. But when Leon says, you all doubted me, look at me now, champion of the world, like, that hits here. And, Mama, I told you, I said I was going to change our lives forever. Look at me now. Like, that was legitimately moving stuff. And that's why I don't want people who aren't doubted to pretend like they were, because people get doubted, like, actually people get doubted and overcome those circumstances all the damn time. And for as great of an effort as Volkanovski has given in his life, and the fact that he is one of the best fighters ever, et cetera, that man didn't come from the same, like, Leon Edwards came from a tougher lot in life, all the way down, every step of the way. And we don't need to, let's not co-opt his thing. Just do your own. Look, I'm a badass. Look at me. I just tuned up Max Holloway. Let Leon be the one. You guys doubted me. Doubt me now. So I'm off my soapbox again.
The Jed Meshew soapbox was stacked nice and high. There was two soapboxes. He kicked one over and then just stood back up on the other half.
Also, flyweight unders, they never lose.
And heavyweight overs.
Heavyweight
overs is getting in that discussion.
It's getting in the discussion, but we're, like I said, we're not going to blow things up too early. We take our time. We let them prove themselves in here. Heavyweight overs mostly win, but flyweight unders, they never lose, baby.
All right. And I hate to burst your bubble. I don't know if you know this, but there's not a single flyweight on the 279 slate right now. So
there's I don't think there's nothing at Paris either.
Oh,
there's
so no
flyweight under for a while.
And Cedric Dumbai is he's off the card.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't believe UFC is even happening. I don't. For some reason I don't.
Do we kind of know?
Yeah, we kind of know what's happening with the.
Oh.
Listen, we know what's happening. We know what's happening. We've seen this before. Listen, here's what I'll say about this, because so many people have asked about it. He is not under UFC contract, at least from the people that we have spoken to at MMAfighting.com. Tremendous website who does their homework. But I will say that I will say this. He is basically on a list where as soon as whatever he is dealing with is cleared and he can fight, the UFC will pick up the telephone and call him up and say, now you can come fight. You're clear. He just doesn't have a contract right now. But once he gets cleared, he probably will. So I think one side is saying one thing, the other side saying another. And I think there's like just some losing of translation, but they're both kind of right and wrong at the same time. So I don't think we're living in a world, at least from what I know and what I've been told and what other people that I work with have been told, I don't think we're living in a world where you'd never see Cedric Doumbé fight in the UFC. So I'm positive we will see him fight for the promotion. It's just not happening in 2 weeks. And it may not happen this year, but it will happen. And it'll happen sooner rather than later. Okay? There you go. There's your Cedric Doumbé update. With that said,
hit the music.
This is a longer post-fight show than I thought it was going to be, but it's okay because this is a night full of storylines.
A big thing,
and we have a lot to discuss tomorrow, Jed. So get a couple hours shut eye. We still have some work to do, but get a couple hours shut eye.
I'm not going to bed for a while. I have plenty of stuff I have to do.
We'll try to get like 2 to 3 hours, and at 11 a.m. Eastern, we'll be back, and we're going to do some matchmaking. On to the next one. Myself, Jed Meshew, filling in the gigantic shoes of the world traveler, Alexander A.K. Lee, and we'll have some fun. So matchmaking picks, save them for tomorrow, and we will pull them up on the screen, and we will address them, and Jed will probably not be kind to you if he thinks your picks suck, but who knows? I'm going to be probably a little grumpy.
Okay, because I'm bad at that. I'm not a matchmaker. That's your purview. You and AK do a great job. I'm just there to carry the water.
And I'm probably going to be a grump and I'm probably going to have takes tomorrow, but we'll see what happens.
Let's go.
For Jed, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. Hope you guys enjoyed the card. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Love you guys.
Happy birthday, AK.